Perfect timing on the nose, 6:30. I'd like to call our committee of the whole meeting to order, and I'd like to invite our city treasurer up to the podium. We'll go ahead and start on the background on the Walker-Standale Streetscape Maintenance Special Assessment District. We'll have a public hearing at the 7 o'clock meeting, and then we have multiple resolutions, which Dan and Daryl, I believe, will share any background on those. So, floor is yours.
Okay. Did you want to go through the map part, or do you want me to talk through that? Okay. Okay. So you have a lot of big pieces of paper in front of you. I apologize for that, but hopefully this will be helpful. So you should have one that's 3 pages that talks about the DDA process, and there should be 2 maps tied to it. So the first page, if you look on there, you can kind of see a brown area. That is the DDA proper boundary. So anything that's within our DDA is highlighted in brown. The next page on there, well, yeah, let's just stay on that page. Actually, I'm sorry. You'll notice on that page, then you'll see a number of properties that have a triangle on them, a yellow triangle. The yellow triangle indicates that that is a parcel that's part of the streetscape assessment that we're talking about tonight. So you see that the DDA proper is actually a bigger area than what the streetscape area is going to be. So the streetscape special assessment district is basically, again, along Lake Michigan Drive and then a bit north and south on Wilson Avenue. So if you turn then to the second page, that's basically looking at that streetscape assessment that we're dealing with. It's kind of a blown up area that highlights mainly just the streetscape assessment area. And again, anything that's got a yellow triangle on it would be included in that district. Now, before we get into the whole other spreadsheet, if I can just make a couple comments on, again, this map that we're looking at, that streetscape one. So basically, if you look at the main area of difference, shall we say, is going to be south of Lake Michigan Drive by where you can see where Meyer is, and then across the street from that on the east side there are several parcels that don't show anything as of yet, but on the corner there's Chick-fil-A, and then there's a Consumers Credit Union a little bit further to the south, and those parcels are going to be assessed at a lower rate because we don't have the full development of everything that goes on with the streetscape everywhere else. So basically those parcels are going to have plowing for the sidewalk and also mowing for in between the road and the sidewalk there. They don't have all the irrigation stuff. They don't have the decorative street lights as of yet. So our proposal is to charge them only 50% of a full assessment amount on that side of the road. On the west side of the road, so down south of Meyer where there's Blaine's, and then there's a couple properties right up along the road. One is the AAC Credit Union, which is just south of the Standale Crossing Road, and Goodwill. That area, basically anything south of that Standale Crossing Road, will have a 0 assessment for the time being because there are no improvements at all. But we want to keep them in the district for when those do come in, then we can add an assessment amount on without having to go through this whole process again. So, and the same is true then for the properties on the east side. When those other improvements are added on, we would then fully assess those properties when those additional services are added. So, and then again, by doing it this way, we don't have to go and go through this process again. So that's kind of the map, unless there was something else you would like to add, Daryl.
No, I had mentioned that last time when we were talking about the assessments that we would have a map at this meeting available because it is a public hearing, and then if anybody has any questions, so I'm going to make sure we had that ready for this meeting and helped clarify what Dan was just talking about. So thanks to the folks at Regis for putting this together and plotting it for us. So our Regis dues at work.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
It is
Nope,
good
that was
stuff.
it. Good summary, Dan.
Yeah, thank you.
Just the one note that you'll see a triangle, I think, on Barkwood condominiums there, that I don't think they are part of the assessment, so we'll have to make sure that that's
Right,
cleaned
no,
up.
that's, you're right, that's correct. So the Barkwood, yeah, good catch. That should not have a triangle on it.
Yeah, but they're not on the list for the assessment in all the
Yeah.
resolutions. That's
Yeah.
just a mapping error on that one.
Yeah. No, that was a good catch. So, okay. Then unless there's other specific questions right now, then we can come back to this map later after we go through this other one, which is the colorful two-pager, if you will. And this, I will be the first to admit, this is kind of overkill for what I intended to give you, but this is basically the working document that we used as our group to come up with the assessment district and how we were going to bill them, the number of feet and this type of thing. So just kind of reading through from left to right, you'll see the parcel number and then the property owner, the property address. The next column you'll see says 2022 SAD roll. That's basically what the roll that we just had expired. So if you take that first property for Uccello's, on the old roll they were being charged $1,825.92, which came out to $10.14 a foot is basically it. So the green column next to it are the frontage, the number of feet that we were charging on that 2022 roll, and then those were the years prior to that too. So that's kind of the old, if you will. Then you go over 2 rows, and there's kind of a brown colored highlighted column that says proposed billable frontage. Basically that number is going to equal what the 2022 frontage was, unless we came up with some other some adjustments, which we do further down. Working our way, continuing across, just to kind of give you the whole thing, you'll see the 2 yellow columns then beyond that. You'll see the 2023 frontage build. Again, that's going to be 180, so we're proposing no change in frontage on that particular one. And then we're proposing a change to a rate of $9.50 a foot, which you'll see at the top of the next column, which is highlighted with a red arrow. And so the math works out that 180 times the 950 gives you the proposed SAD roll amount of 1,710. So if you compare that number back to the left to the 2022 of the 1825.92 amount, you'll see that there's been a reduction for that particular property on the assessment roll. So that's really that's about as far as you need to go on that roll. If you want, just so you know what the rest of it is, the far right was our calculations of how to come up with a number of feet. And we looked at what was on Lake Michigan Drive and what were on neighboring roads to the north or south. So those we can certainly talk through if you want, but that's really taken care of to the left. So, and then I have some notes along the edge as well. You'll notice on that, again, on that kind of brown color column, there are certain cells that are in blue, and those would then represent a change in frontage from what we had billed in 2022. So the first one you see there is about 10 rows down. It's in blue, it's 295. If you look two rows to the left, you'll see in 2022 we billed them at 168 number of feet. So we have updated that one. That happens to be the northwest corner, the gas station there of Lake Michigan
Where the
Drive.
next door food store gas station is, on the corner.
Yeah.
There's actually 3 frontages on that property. We had only been charging them for the Wilson, or the Lake Michigan Drive frontage, but we're doing improvements on all 3, and we figure we should charge them for all 3 because we're getting the benefit on all 3.
Mm-hmm. So that's what the blue is signifying in that column. It's just that it's a change in frontage from what we had on the prior roll. That's all that's indicating. And then just wanted to highlight a couple of them down from there. There's you'll see a block, 2 of them down that has 2 zeros in it. The first one there was the old fire station lot. That is now the Rapid lot. That will be exempt. The one directly below it is a lot owned by Grand Valley University, and they are exempt also from having to pay from a special assessment perspective. And so that one will be exempt also. And then a couple below that is the second property that the Grand Valley owns. And those are basically the Kinney and Lake Michigan Drive area, the ones that they have by, yeah, that strip mall basically, yeah. And then they own a little piece right along Kinney that's right by the car wash there. So those would be exempt.
And even though those are exempt from paying, we will still plow and maintain those. It's kind of been absorbed by all the other parcels in the district in our calculation. So we're not going to stop at their property line and jump over that, which is what we've done in the past. I mean, we've maintained it in the past.
Going again towards the bottom of that first page, that last block of 5 or 6, these are the properties that are basically from the county line heading back to the east on the south side of the road. If I'm remembering those right, that's correct, right, Daryl? That those are the ones by
that's basically the property where Vista 45 is proposed, everything between Goodwill and the Meyer store, those long, narrow parcels that go all the way down there. That's those 4 parcels.
Yeah. So those will be added on.
Those, for some reason, were not assessed in the past, although they have improvements and we were maintaining those. So those are the ones where we said we should, get them to, they should pay for what's being provided to them along their frontage.
Right. Yeah.
And they have improvements. We're paying electricity for their lights, we're irrigating, they're getting all those benefits, and they hadn't been paying for it. So.
Yep.
Unfortunately, we can't backbill them.
No, we can't do that, but
But going forward, they
we'll pick
will
them
be.
up going forward. So, and then on the second page, if you would please, there's just a couple others I wanted to point out, and you'll see a column again next to the column that had the 2023 proposed SAD roll, or the one that says $9.50 a foot. You'll see a couple of them say bill later, and then a few that say reduced bill. And so the bill later ones are basically the ones that will include on the roll, or are part of the district, but we will not charge anything at this time. That's kind of that Blaines area again, and those areas down south, because they don't have any improvements. The reduced bills are the ones we talked about on the east side, like the Culvers and that type of thing. So they'll get basically a 50% assessment, or they'll be charged $9 or $4.75 per foot. So yeah.
Make a point of emphasis for the commissioners, if you were not aware, there is Goodwill Industries.
Oh, good point.
Goodwill stores, if we know them. Then there is Goodwill Company Inc., which is listed on here in boxes you were just describing. That is actually one of the Meyer companies entities. If you want underneath there, so it's been that way decades.
Yeah.
30, 40 years, but it's good for a point sometimes to
Yeah.
discuss even the Vista 45 potential developments. There's Goodwill Industries, there's Goodwill Company Inc., and sometimes it's easy to get them confused.
It's very easy to
They're
get.
all both one word.
Yeah. It's very easy to get them confused. Very much so. Yeah. So, not to belabor this whole spreadsheet, but I guess I would just point your attention then down to the bottom of the column again. That's in yellow. That shows the total amount of assessment that we are proposing, which is the $129,366.25. When we did the last round of resolutions a couple weeks ago, we had set it at 130, that it could not exceed 130,000. That was going to be our base for the first year. So we're underneath it by having this roll as it is. So, but I know that's a ton of information to throw at you here at the last minute, and I'm happy to answer any types of questions you have on either one of these documents. So.
Thanks, Dan. I don't have a question. I thought you went through it very clearly, but I did just kind of one comment. Looking at the first picture, this is a great picture. It really, it shows you what DDA is, where our downtown ability to look to the future is, and it just strikes me how important Vista 45 is going to be to our vision for the future of downtown. Because it's a huge chunk of land that we have some control over, and the rest of it, we have a lot of non-control over. We have to sort of do it over time. So I think it just emphasizes the importance of getting Vista 45 or whatever it's going to be there, getting it right. Thanks.
I think to build on that, that's to give credit for staff right now. There's been, Daryl, I can't keep track of how many meetings there has been with the developers of Vista 45, and really everybody's working. We've got different entities, adjoining property owners that are all at the table together working things out. But I think the importance piece is that our staff, I do want to give them a ton of credit. Scott specifically really has kind of dug his feet in on road width and the center turn lane and just little things about 66-foot road versus something that's smaller that might not be able to handle that type of growth in there, because we are expecting big things. So a lot of moving parts in there right now, and I know we'll start to see some of that later this month, coming to the city. To the Planning Commission specifically, but kind of excited about, I think we're getting close on a workable project. Commissioners, any other questions for Dan? Or any questions for Dan?
More so a comment. Thank you so much for putting this together. Always like the way that you lay it out and you give us some references.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I had a lot of help with Stacy was involved, and Jill before she left was involved. But Gary, Postma, Frank, and Daryl, it was a joint effort on this one for sure, so thanks.
Great.
So
Thank
Dan,
you.
do you want to summarize kind of the 3 resolutions that are on the agenda
Yeah.
that relate to all this information?
I can do my best
try
on it.
But we wanted to make sure you had the background and had all the details, because some of the resolutions relate to
Yeah.
what Dan just went over.
Yeah, so we'll have a public hearing tonight in case any property owner has an objection or a comment related to this proposed district in terms of, the amount or the length or what have you. In all honesty, we've had, between Stacy and I, we've had 4 inquiries out of the whole list in the last 2 weeks, and none of them have been confrontational by any stretch of the imagination. The one was Consumers Credit Union, and I think that one was the most interesting just because they're being added onto the roll now, but they were the only ones. The other 3 were existing property owners that were in the roll that just expired, and we're just kind of asking questions if that was the same type of deal or not. So that was good. So I will be the first to admit I'm not completely sure on all the legalese of all this, all these, but basically what I understand is we'll have the public hearing, and then you would do the first resolution, which is where you're saying that we determine it's necessary to move forward with this project and with this assessment. And so that would be what the first resolution would be for. The second resolution then would be to prepare the roll. Well, that basically is this document here. And so we've kind of talked through that. And so again, we're underneath our threshold of what we said we could not exceed. And so we feel like we're comfortable in that regard. And then the 5th or the 4th, well, they have them numbered different than we do, but the 3rd one for us, but the 5th one for the lawyers is is that you're going to accept the roll as we have presented it here, and then we'll fix another date for another public hearing, which would be the next meeting of December 12. And then again, the property owners will have the ability to come and contest if they would like to. In between that time, if everything goes through tonight, then we'll be sending out notices to each property owner, again telling them that we're planning to assess, and then telling them what their portion of the assessment would be for the upcoming year.
So it'll be back in front of us on December 12th.
So hopefully, if it goes through tonight and we do all that, we go through the 12th, then you won't have to look at this again. Outside of, just to be sure, every year the DDA board has to then reevaluate this assessment and look at it again and make sure that we're still within an area of cost that they're comfortable with. They give a recommendation, and then we come to you saying the DDA board has approved that we can go, say, for the 2024 assessment. And it's just a one resolution, no public hearing or anything like that type of thing, so.
Yeah,
So-
that usually happens in January, but we
Yeah.
won't have to do that this year because we're doing that
'Cause
now.
that, basically doing it right now, yeah.
In subsequent years, and you'll see that in January,
Yeah.
coming forward for that year's assessment.
Right, and there won't be any public hearings related to it or anything like that, it'll just be those usually go pretty quick, and based on how they have gone historically, so.
Commissioners, any questions? Right now, summarize the three resolutions at 7 o'clock as we're taking them one by one. Anything else from us I do have one question, actually, Daryl, maybe direct to you. You have the most history. We plow the sidewalks, we maintain the landscaping, the irrigation, the poles, the light poles, the decorations. But we do we plow those back alleyways?
No.
Okay.
We do the alleyway between Cummings and Kinney
Kinney.
because that's public right away through there.
Yep.
That one stretch 20-foot wide or so we do plow that, but we no longer maintain the parking lots. At one time, we had a different special assessment district
Way back.
that
Yeah.
took care of all the common parking areas, but that has since expired and that was never renewed, so.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay, so just to make sure everybody understood what all was in there. All right, anything else for?
One real, just minor thing, but just to be sure, there's one residential property that's included in this special assessment district. There's a home directly across from the Wendy's. And that will not be assessed, but it will be again part of the district, so that when and if that is ever sold and developed, we could then add it back into the district again without having to go through this process. So that's the only one. So.
All right. Anything else? Dan, we'll get you out of here early, so we'll be good at 7 o'clock if you want to take off. If you want to stay too, you're welcome to, but probably not a bad idea. Yep. Okay. All right, so that pretty much covers the agenda for the evening. I'm gonna start with, comments up here. I'll start with, our city manager first.
Just two quick items. One is Dan will be back again, not only for this at the next meeting, but also Doug Radeveld, our auditors, will be here to provide our audit report at the December 12th meeting at the 6:30 meeting, portion of the meeting. And then just a reminder, Winterfest is this Thursday night over at the Ice and Fitness Center, and I think the weather's gonna cool down a little bit, so the ice carving should be okay, although I don't think it's gonna be a white Christmas out there, or white for the event anyways, as far as snow goes. So that's all I have. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Burke?
Good to be here. Airplane prevented me last time. Sorry I missed out. I will be there on Thursday, is it, Daryl? Is it Thursday? And just so you all know, on the Fire and Police Subcommittee, we talked at some length with the chief about trying to get some of our paid-on-call staffers' numbers up. And as I am now a member of the American Legion Post 1111, because Jenna Wilmers was persistently reminding me to join, I have. The chief got me some flyers, and we're going to post them around the local VFWs and the local American Legions, and frankly, any other good places we can think of to see if we can help boost our numbers for the paid-on-call staff. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner DeShane?
I received a email from Commissioner Heisinger Chase from one of the residents of in our second ward, and they're concerned about the speed and the large trucks that they are seeing on Nixon, and they wanted to know if there was anything that we could do to enforce the speed limits there, as well as the large trucks that go through there. So he sounded quite frustrated, and I said I would possibly go ahead.
So we had a follow-up that
Oh,
you
did
weren't
you?
on the email with, that went with the police chief, and that's
Okay.
gonna be on the next traffic
Good, that's what was my
meeting that
recommendation.
Melanie is gonna bring up at the
Okay, that would be
February
perfect.
meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, the next meeting.
Yeah.
We did receive another email from him, and he was very cordial and
Oh, good.
appreciative of
Okay.
of the
Yeah, that
action
was-
and the communication that we had.
Okay, because, yeah, that was my recommendation, to get it on the agenda for the traffic committee to evaluate and see what needed to be done. And, you know, we don't live there, so we don't always see it, but I can understand that that's kind of a difficult area anyway.
It's a tight road.
It is a very
Yeah.
tight road. When I drove by it, I was like, oh, better.
And people do, they do get up to speed on there. It's,
Absolutely.
hard to, from a patrol vehicle standpoint, of where do you actually sit on that road? Because there's literally, it's not an approved stretch of road.
No, it's not an improved stretch of road.
It's one of
and
the old
it's-
township roads.
Absolutely it is, so I appreciate you doing the follow-up on that. And then I will be attending Winterfest, so looking forward to it.
Mr. Chase?
Just looking forward to attending Winterfest on Thursday.
All right. Mr. Groders?
I will also be there Thursday, but I did have a question. Do we know the status of a timeline for finishing the rapid lot? I mean, it looks great. They're working like crazy on
Second,
it.
where's our communications director? She just left us. She was arranging the ribbon cutting date. She had access to my schedule, so.
Okay. Good.
I believe it's slated right now, the second week of December, is the time. And I know that I think there was some things when they were initially doing, the initial improvement, I think the first of the 3 phases roughly, that took longer than expected, and that put them, because we were looking like mid-November.
Right, that's what I
So
was
we're
thinking.
off just a little bit, but,
Yeah,
you
not
know,
bad, though.
weather permitting,
Yeah.
you know, but I happened to come at it from, coming down Cummings and looking at it from that direction. When you look at the expansiveness of that, this isn't just, it's not just for the rapid riders, it's not just for, you know, you know, public parking aspect, but I just think for our community to be able to use, I mean, it's gonna be very nice, and it's gonna look a heck of a lot better than it's looked for a long time, so. Yeah, good stuff.
Big improvement.
Good question. Commissioner Gilbert. Madam Clerk?
Yeah, just an update regarding passport processing. We had some new guidelines come down from the passport agency. Good news is we're still going to be processing passport applications. The bad news is the hours need to change. So we will now be processing new passport applications Monday through Thursday, 7:30 to 2. Reasoning for that is we are not to put them in drop boxes, like the blue drop boxes out front anymore, to be mailed to the acceptance agency or the processing agency. They actually have to go to the post office or be picked up by mail, and they come between 3 and 3:30.
And those
So-
around bending regulation changes,
Yeah,
you know, so there's only so many people in that office.
right, yes, and there has to be a passport agent available to do them, so,
Yep.
yep.
Thank
And
you.
you still do those by appointment only, right?
Yes,
So
by
you do-
appointment only, yep. And we are having pushback from them as well to only be processing new passports, not renewals. So we can still do photos for anybody that needs to submit a renewal application, also by appointment.
I'm glad you brought that up too, just so that, you know, should we get any questions from the public, because then it's gonna come up here with spring break, vacations, and as people trying to come in. I mean, our hands are tied from a federal regulation standpoint, so you're doing the best you can, I know that much.
So what was that, Deb? You're not doing renewals?
Yeah, the passport agency has said that they would like the applicants to fill out and submit their renewal forms by themselves. So the applicant actually needs to mail it in themselves.
I'll rapid fire to keep us online for 7 o'clock. Handbook, what's that? Oh, sorry. Handbook policy review, personnel committee will get a look at the updates our HR director has been working on with the handbooks along with our city managers, some change in wording and updates on committees. I'll be connecting with everybody on committee appointments for the coming year as well. I want to give a special shout out to Commissioner Groders. Happened to join her towards the end of the time. She spent pretty much what I felt was a full day up at the Station 3 going through really organizing, cataloging something I mean, it was seriously overdue, in that finally got some expert guidance from the state of Michigan, from the archives department, and really I was really quite bullish on what the future looks like with that, and, you know, having the Michigan Archives be a part of our go-forward strategy as part of that. So hats off to you, because that was a lot of sweat equity that day, and the heaters were on full blast on there, so. And then the other two things, Vista 45, I shared just a quick update on it. It's coming to Planning Commission, I think the 7th. I believe December 7th is the plan on that. And then last quick update was the Fallen Warrior Memorial. If you remember back to out next to the Police and Fire Memorial, there's a place that previous city commission had designated in concept an area to have a memorial out there for fallen soldiers since the I think the original Gulf War, the early 1990s. So there will be a special monument out there. It is starting to finally pick up some steam. There's already been last year, I believe it was state allocation of money of, I believe it was $500,000 that came in for that project. And the cost of the project from the time we started talking about this years ago has increased exponentially because of the cost of construction and supplies and all of that. So I would expect this is going to be pretty significant, but look for more on that to come in the next few months here as they start the fundraising campaign on that. So it'll be called the Fallen Warriors Memorial Project. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and call our 7 o'clock, our official City Commission meeting to order for Monday, November 28, 2022. I'd like to invite Commissioner DeShane to deliver the invocation, lead us in Pledge of Allegiance.
Shall we pray? Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin our meeting. Please give us the wisdom to make the best decisions for the betterment of our great city and the guidance to nurture the bonds within our community. Please fill us with your grace, Lord God, as we make decisions that will affect our residents and the businesses that reside within our city. And always continue to remind us that all that we do here today, all that we accomplish, is a pursuit for truth, for the greater glory of you, and for the service of this city and its people. Be with those who are hurting and need healing. Watch over our police, our fire department, and our military to keep them safe and out of harm's way. We ask these things in your great name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. I'd like to invite the audience to please stand and join us for Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, thank you all. If we could please ask our clerk to call the roll.
Mayor Carey,
Present.
Commissioner Gilbert, Commissioner Burke,
Present?
Commissioner DeShane,
Present.
Commissioner Groders,
Present?
Commissioner Chase.
Present.
And if I could make ask for a motion on excused absence for Commissioner Babcock.
I'll make that motion.
I'll support.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Thank you. Next on the list is the approval of the minutes from the November 14, 2022 City Commission meeting. If there's no discussion on said minutes, I'll entertain a motion for approval and support, please.
So moved?
Commissioner Groders? Support. Commissioner Burke, all those in favor, please say aye. 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 Those opposed? And I'm going to exercise chair's discretion up here a second. I had a very egregious misstep on my part here from the 6:30 meeting, but we were in rush. We have Ben Wilcom in the back of the room as well as Chief Pelt, and I want to give Ben a very, very special shout out. What we were able to see out in the parking lot with our new bucket truck and the refurbishing of, is it Engine 3, Chief? Engine 5, and we changed the number. So, you know, what we did just from a fiscal responsibility standpoint, you know, I was standing out there talking with Ben for a few about this. You don't see this happening a whole lot of other places. And when you look at that thing actually up in the air, is there a contest? Does the aerial go higher than that truck? So, okay, yeah. All right, so he's got bragging rights, yeah, but so I think it's cool, but there comes to this, our former mayor, Heisinger, had this phrase of this make versus buy analogy to give him credit for that phrase. And that make versus buy, this is a situation where, you know, when we approved this back last month, I believe it was, when we approved the purchase of this and we had this opportunity to come up to grab a gently refurbished bucket truck, It was because the vendor that we had used for so long was no longer gonna be doing it, and this was gonna be somewhat cost prohibitive for us to do. So I just think from a fiscally responsible standpoint, Dan always finds a way to, somehow let the dollars go out, for the right thing, and, very pragmatic use of things. So I want to give you a special shout out, Chief, for, working with Ben on that, doing a lot of cool things lately, and, Dan managing that. So I wanted to make sure I didn't miss that with, Ben took, both him and Chief took the time to come back tonight, so. Next on the list is the public hearing for the Walker-Standale Streetscape Maintenance Special Assessment District number 205. I'm actually going to ask for a motion to open that public hearing. I'll ask for one to close in just a moment.
Motion to open the public hearing?
I'll support.
Commissioner Gilbert, Commissioner Chase, all those in favor to open the public hearing, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, the public hearing is open for the Walker-Standale Streetscape Maintenance Special Assessment District number 205. Anyone wishing to speak on the public hearing and the public hearing alone, please come to the podium. Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close.
Commissioner DeShane,
Support.
Commissioner Groders, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Thank you. All right, we're, next on the list is public comment on agenda items and agenda items only, which kind of negates that. So we're on to next is the consent agenda. It's the expenditures in the amount of $887,722.13. If there's no discussion on the expenses, I'll entertain a motion for approval and support, please.
I'll make a motion.
Commissioner Chase,
I'll support.
Commissioner DeShane, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Thank you. So we'll take these one by one. Just a quick high-level description. Resolution 22-646, the third resolution for Walker-Standale Streetscape Maintenance Special Assessment District 205. This is basically, in a summary, is determination to move forward with the Walker-Standale Streetscape Maintenance Special Assessment District 205. That's the first resolution. Entertain a motion for approval and support if there's no discussion on this.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 22646, determination of necessity for the streetscape assessment.
Thank you, Commissioner Burke. Do we have support?
Support.
Commissioner Groders. Any other discussion on this? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Resolution 646 is passed. 22-646. Next on the list is Resolution 22-647, which is the fourth resolution for the Walker-Standale Streetscape Maintenance Special Assessment District number 205. This is to officially prepare the special assessment roll. If there is no further discussion, I'll entertain a motion for approval and support on this as well.
So moved.
Commissioner Gilbert,
Support.
Commissioner DeShane. Is there any other discussion on the special assessment roll? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Last but not least, Resolution 22-648 is the fifth resolution for the Walker-Standale Streetscape Maintenance Special Assessment District 205. This is to accept the roll as it is presented tonight, with the vote on the assessment district in its entirety to come December 12th, I believe it'll be. This is basically to accept the roll as it has been presented to us tonight, with the official vote to come in at the December meeting.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Chase.
Support.
Commissioner Groders, any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Oh, thank you. Next on the list is other public comment on anything agenda or non-agenda items. Is there any public comment? Everybody's just bursting to get out of here. Okay. Next on the list, I'll go quick around the horn. Anything further, City Manager? Commissioner Burke?
What time do you have to be here on Thursday?
What's Thursday again?
5:30, is that what it is?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 5:30 to 7.
Okay.
5:30 to 7 officially. Sorry, my bad. Commissioner Chase. Commissioner Groders. Commissioner Gilbert. Madam Clerk?
I just wanted to point out the meeting schedule change at the bottom of the agenda as well.
Yes,
Just as a
thank you.
reminder that the 26th is now on the 19th. Or the 26th, the meeting was moved to the 19th.
Yeah, and then we'll be, that's our official meeting, city commission meetings for the month of December. All right, public, you sure nothing further for anybody? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion for approval to adjourn and support, please.
Motion to adjourn?
Commissioner Burke, Commissioner Gilbert, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, thank you. We stand adjourned.